Lyssy, and today guys, brace yourselves because we are talking about the happiest place on earth. Well, so you guys might think it's the happiest place on earth. Disneyland! As you guys know, I absolutely love Disneyland. You couldn't tell. I have the Haunted Mansion going here in the background because I love that ride. I grew up in the city of Disneyland. Well, I was born in the city of Disneyland, Anaheim, California, and I've been going to the Disneyland parks ever since I was a little girl, a little Lyssy. And today I want to dig deep into the spooky side of Disney and talk about some of Disney's lost mysteries, scariest things that have happened in the park, disasters, and even kids going missing. And a lot of the Disney conspiracies and rumors as well, because there's a lot of things online about Disneyland that I don't even know if they're even true. Today we're going to be talking about them. Also, if you guys are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to join the family and comment down below what is your favorite Disney character, because I'm just curious. Mine is currently Bam because it kind of reminds me of my dog, but I also love Stitch. That's up there too for me. Anyways, moving along the point, Disneyland, when we think about it, is literally, like I said, the happiest place on earth. We couldn't even imagine something going wrong because every time we step into a Disney park, we're so immersed into a different land. They have Adventureland, they have Tomorrowland. It feels like you're just in this different atmosphere and you couldn't even think about anything dark or scary when you're surrounded by Mickey-shaped popsicles, you know, cartoon characters from your favorite Disney movies, and tons of good food and fun rides, right? Wrong! Disney has some very dark stories, and we're gonna go all the way back actually to the beginning of Disneyland, and this is something that a lot of us never even thought about, and I didn't think about until today, really. The opening day of Disneyland was a complete disaster, and here is why. So Disneyland opened July 17th of 1955, and the day that Disneyland actually opened was known as the Black Sunday because of how dangerous and disastrous the opening of the Disneyland park was. Some areas of the Disney park were unfinished, and construction workers were struggling to actually finish the projects they had to finish to open up Disneyland Park that day. Disneyland's opening day was disastrous by many different accounts. The park was not quite ready at all for visitors because of all the construction. It ran out of food and drinks. There was counterfeit tickets that led to unexpectedly large crowds, and shoes even got stuck in freshly laid asphalt in 100-degree California heat. And worse than that, Walt had to make the decision that the construction workers were wanting them, like, hey Walt, should we finish the Disneyland bathrooms today before opening, or should we finish the water fountains? And Walt told them, finish the bathrooms, because obviously, you know, you'd think that's probably important, right? Yeah, we need to finish the bathrooms so that people can use the bathroom. It's a theme park. You have to have bathrooms and all that good stuff, but they didn't have time to finish the water fountains. It was 100 degrees that day, and a lot of people needed water because the snack stands ran out of it, and there was no water fountains for anybody to go to, and it was 100 degrees. People ended up fainting and hitting that 100-degree asphalt floor and getting pulled out by emergency crews because it was so hot. The first day was actually supposed to be invitation only, but things immediately went off the rails for Disneyland. There was a lot of scammers around the outside of the gate selling fake tickets, and people that were pulling ladders out to climb over into the park. And there was over 28,000 people that made it into the park that day, doubling the limits of park capacity at the time, which is insane to me that it went that crazy for their opening day. And it was even being streamed on television to make things worse. And so people were seeing it from like a light where they're like, Disneyland's the best place ever.
That's Mickey Mouse. Diane, you're 6. Where would you like to go of all the places in Disneyland?
To the great big castle where Sleeping Beauty is.
Oh, you want to go to the castle. Lois, you take them all to wherever they want to go.
But they didn't see all the chaos that was going on behind the scenes at the actual park. Rides were breaking down, people were fainting and pushing through crowds and sneaking into the park. It was just one big darn disaster. And so that's how the opening day of Disney went, okay? It was not a good time. Even though it'd be crazy to see it, not a good time to actually live in. Another crazy dark Disney secret was one of Disney's abandoned water parks. Did you guys know that they had an abandoned water park? Well, I didn't. So this water park was just outside of Magic Kingdom near Fort Wilderness Resort and Campground. This land actually used to be home to the first Walt Disney World water park, River County. Not many Disney fans have actually heard about this, but it opened back in 1976 as one of the first fully themed water parks in the world. It was themed as a Tom Sawyer swimming hole, and it was unique in that the attractions used filtered fresh water from Bay Lake. There's actually some photos online of how it looks abandoned now or abandoned at the time. I don't know, either one. Disney ended up closing this water park in 2001 and let it sit untouched for years. There was a lot of speculation and rumors and conspiracies as to why Disney ended up closing this water park, and some of them were pretty wild and crazy. Some actually believe that it was due to some sort of brain-eating amoeba that infected the park's water, and Disney freaked out because people were getting sick with this parasite or amoeba eating their brains out. I don't know how true that is, but that's a conspiracy. And that rumor actually most likely began because of the death of an 11-year-old boy who died in 1980 from a case of amoebic meningitis, I can't say that word, while he visited the water park. So while he was there, he died of that amoeba coincidentally. Kind of scary. Other theories claim that the park ended up closing down due to 2 guests who died in the park in the 80s drowning in this water park, which is very unfortunate and sad. However, the more likely reason is that Disney chose to close the water park because Blizzard Beach Water Park and Typhoon Lagoon Water Park had built and grown in their popularity, and people didn't want to go to this other one as much as they wanted the other water parks because they were bigger and better and newer. But the land had been sitting abandoned with the water turning green and brush growing over the area until recently when Disney began working on a new planned hotel called Reflections, a Disney lakeside lodge. So that's the story of Disney's abandoned water park and possible deaths and amoebas that took over someone's brain, so that's fun. So now we're gonna actually get onto some darker subjects that are pretty sad and scary, and this one is about possible kidnappings or kids going missing at the Disney parks. There was a rumored kidnapping ring that scared guests in 1987. A 16-year-old boy was sent out to Disney parking lot to bring the car around to the front to pick up the rest of his family. He was followed by a pair of men who kidnapped him at gunpoint at the Disney park with his own car and drove off all the way to Santa Ana, where they drove off and dropped him off unharmed. The 2 men were arrested the next day in Los Angeles, but the abduction fueled rumors that had been going around for a few years back to the market of kidnapping at Disneyland. I didn't even know that there was rumors about this, but there's a lot of different rumors about kids that have apparently gone missing at Disneyland, and to this day I don't know what happened, but hopefully they've been found. That is scary that could even happen at a, amusement park. Anyways, according to more of these rumors, there has at least been 200 children, yes, 200 missing children that were kidnapped at the park each year and trafficked out of Disney, which is horrifying to think about. So be careful with your families. Doesn't matter where you are, even at the happiest place on earth. One story that was commonly circulated was a story of a 2-year-old boy that was pulled from his stroller while his mother was being distracted at the Disney park. His mom begins frantically searching all over the park and eventually sees another woman carrying a bundled up blanket with her son's shoes sticking out of it, which is so scary. Imagine being a mom and seeing that your kid's gone, then looking over seeing another lady holding your child. I would freak out. The mom snatches the bundle out of the woman's hands and is horrified to see her son in disguise with short red hair. To this day, Anaheim police continue to receive dozens of calls each year asking about the non-existent kidnappings occurring in Disneyland. How true is that? Like I said, I don't know, just some conspiracies. That's crazy. I hope that that's not, a real thing, but that is scary that people online think that there has been that many kidnappings or missing children that have gone missing at the Disney park. And last but not least, we're going to be talking about a guest who might have lost their leg on the Space Mountain ride. Yes, they lost a leg. So Space Mountain is obviously a roller coaster in the Disney parks. It's space themed, it's pretty fast, it's actually really fun. It's one of my favorite rides. So one of the people that was riding Space Mountain had an artificial leg. Yes, you already know where this is gonna go. This person wanted to ride Space Mountain no matter what, didn't care about their artificial leg, didn't think much about it, so they wanted to get on the ride, so they did. So they knew that this ride takes off pretty fast, so when you get on and off the ride, it shoots off really quick. You have to get out of it at a certain time. And he was unassisted for some reason, so when he was getting on and off of the ride, apparently when it was trying to move for the next cart of people, his leg got stuck in the track, and when the cart moved, his artificial leg was ripped off of him. I don't know if that's a rumor, but if so, that is awful. Apparently, luckily, the artificial leg was not fully attached to him. It was just one that popped in and out. So when the cart moved up to the next line of people, they all saw that the man had lost a leg and they were freaking out, and the guy was like, it's okay, it pops back on. So luckily the guy was not hurt at all. He just had a missing artificial leg that he had to pop back on. So that would have been really bad, but all the crowd that saw that was traumatized at first, but luckily the guy's okay. So one thing I don't know if many of you guys already know about Disney is that Disneyland is actually filled with cats. Yes, believe it or not, Disneyland is actually piled with cats all around their theme park. There are around 200 feral cats prowling the streets of Tomorrowland and all the other kingdoms in the park. These cats are nocturnal and mainly only come out to hunt in the park at night. They are here for the most obvious reason and the most disturbing one. They are hunting for rodents that are scattered throughout the park. So there are some rats and creepy crawlies at Disneyland, but the cats are there to save the day, and if you are lucky enough, you might be able to spot one of these cats roaming around the theme park even in the daylight if you are lucky. I have once seen a cat running around before, I think in Disneyland California Adventure in like the woodsy area, so I know this is a true fact and that it's really real. So one crazy fact about Disneyland is that it used to be very strict with its employees, and Walt Disney used to want to run his company a certain way and had control over the people in his park and how they looked and what they wore and how they dressed. And one thing is pretty strange that he wasn't allowing. So even after decades of Walt Disney's death, they maintained control in every aspect of how he wanted to run Disneyland and Disney World. Walt was so strict about his operations and Disneyland and Disney World that he did not allow any employees to grow mustaches. This policy was in effect until the year 2000. Walt Disney preferred his employees to be clean-shaven with a squeaky clean image. To this day, full beards with some piercings and certain hair colors are banned among Disney employees. However, I think since this article has been written that I'm actually like referring to, I'm pretty sure that Disneyland is getting a little bit more lenient about having colored hair, piercings, tattoos, and all of that stuff. I know for a while my mom actually wanted to be a Disney worker, and they turned her down because they said she wore quote-unquote too much makeup. My mom barely wore makeup, so that was really shocking to hear that they were so strict on the people they hire in their park and what they had to look like at one point of Disney. But I'm pretty sure that today they actually are a little more lenient to these things because, yeah, that was a little bit strict if you ask me. Another really strange thing I figured out about Disney is that Disneyland and Disney World and all the Disney parks have some very strange sound effects that they play throughout the entire park. The other day, I was walking through somewhere in Disney or something like that, and I noticed that there was a speaker by me, and I was like, wait, that's not even real. And it actually backed it up in this article I found online talking about how they do have automated screams in certain parts of the park to make it seem more scary, and other wildlife and nature sounds on radios and speakers playing to make it feel like you're in a certain atmosphere. I think it was Star Wars Land. I was walking through there and I heard all these crazy sound effects like bugs and stuff, and I was like, wait, does Disney have bugs? And I really thought about it. I was like, wait, that is a speaker system. Even at the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror and/or Guardians of the Galaxy, you hear artificial screams that have been pre-recorded to scare you while you wait in line. Under your feet, Disneyland is made of tunnels and passageways. With this system, it is possible to create smells, sounds, and it's easy to dispatch employees so they appear magically all over the theme park. So just remember, next time you hear a lot of blood-crippling screams coming from a ride, it might not actually be the people on the ride if it sounds a little bit too dramatic. It's probably just the Disney speaker systems trying to scare you before you actually get onto the rides. This next thing is also kind of related to the working for Disney sucked for some employees back in the days, and I actually was not aware of this one, and I know a lot about Disney, but this fact has me kind of thinking like, what is going on? Okay, this one's pretty weird, okay, just bear with me. Disneyland workers had to fight for the right to wear their own underwear. Yes, you heard me. They had to fight to wear their own underwear at one point. At one point, it was mandatory that Disneyland provided them uniform working underpants that they were forced to wear when they worked at Disney Park. That is kind of disgusting and just kind of weird. It's just uniform underpants. I could not imagine that. That is so weird. For a long time, the Disney characters walking around the park had to wear costumes that included park-owned underwear that was laundered at the park. After workers complained about lice and scabs that they suffered from wearing these dirty underpants, they eventually negotiated a deal with Disney employees to bring their own undergarments to the park instead of having to get them washed and cleaned and had nasty things happening while wearing their uniform underpants. That is traumatizing, oh my goodness. Well, at least they changed that law because that was gross if that was really true. So do you guys know that fun ride called The Small World? Yeah, the one with all the little, you know, characters, the dolls that sing the whole time. They're like, it's a small world after all. Yeah, that ride. Well, did you guys know that that song actually is on a never-ending loop and it never ever stops? Even when the ride breaks down, it's on an infinite, never-ending loop. It's a small world of the song forever and ever and ever. So they just built it where the speaker just doesn't stop and the loop is just infinite. But to think about that, it is pretty crazy, and I'm kind of wondering if they even turn the song off at night or they just let it keep running when all the dolls are in the dark and it's all creepy in there. Now I'm really curious because it is on an infinite loop, so huh. Now I wonder. Speaking of sound effect and weird Disney facts, did you guys know that in the Lion King movie, all the roars from the lions are not even real sounds from real lions? Like, what? It actually sounded pretty realistic in a lot of ways, but they were actually played by a voice actor. The specific man making them is Frank Welker. He's a legendary Disney voice actor. So every single roar and lion noise you hear in the movie was man-made. So there's not a single real animal noise in the entire Lion King movie. Believe it or not, that is mind-blowing. I did not know that. That is some really interesting tea. And last but not least, the last thing we're going to be covering today about Disneyland is that they have secret underground hidden tunnels that I did not even know about. Beneath Walt Disney World in Florida, there lies a huge system of tunnels. These exist so that Disney employees don't ruin the magic of the park by doing the ordinary things they've got to do, like take out the garbage or even traveling between areas. The tunnels go on for about 9 acres, and employees even need vehicles to drive them around because the area is so large. We get employees need the space to do all that, but the scenery is what makes it super weird. That is kind of bizarre. I never knew that there was like secret underground tunnels. That explains a lot because sometimes characters like emerge really fast in Disney and then disappear extremely fast. You're like, wait, where did they go? And you're like looking around, you're like, there's no doors. I don't know where they went. Underground tunnels. That explains a lot. So for those of you guys who don't know, Walt Disney was the creator of Disney. He actually opened the first Disney park, which was Disneyland. Walt Disney was born December 5th of 1901 in Chicago, Illinois, and died December 15th of 1966 in Los Angeles, California. He was an American motion picture and television producer and showman, famous as a pioneer and the creator of such cartoon characters Mickey Mouse and Donald Duck. However, there is a weird, dark urban legend about Walt Disney that I don't think is true, but I want to talk about it because there is a rumor of this going around. So basically, after he died, there were many rumors spread about it that Walt Disney's body was frozen and that they kept his corpse of his frozen dead body stored beneath Pirates of the Caribbean's ride at Disneyland, which is a really weird and dark conspiracy that like I said, I don't think that's true because that would be a little weird. I've heard that some of the reasoning behind why he froze his body is a rumor started that Walt Disney thought that eventually later on in the future they would have higher technology that could actually bring frozen bodies back from the dead, which obviously I don't think that's ever going to be a possible thing, but a crazy rumor to say the least. Is Walt's head frozen beneath Pirates of the Caribbean in Disneyland? Probably not. Is that a weird rumor? Definitely. Next urban legend. So the next urban legend is actually about Pirates of the Caribbean once again. In this ride, as you float down into the pirates' lairs and areas, there is a scene in this ride where you see a skeleton on a bed. So it looks like your typical spooky Halloween decoration, but rumor has it that when the Pirates of the Caribbean ride was first opened up, that the creators of this ride were not able to get a realistic looking enough prop for cheap enough, so they actually bitted off a real skeleton to put inside of this ride. The bones of the skeleton that a lot of families and young children were staring at as they were on this ride was actually the skeleton of a real dead person. That's a crazy conspiracy. I heard that this one is probably true. It was scaring some people. In fact, it scared so many people so much they eventually took those bones out of the ride and maybe replaced it with fake ones that look more realistic now that they could afford it. I don't know. That's just crazy. So the next crazy urban legends about Disney are the original Mascot costumes, which I'm pretty sure might be real. I don't know. So November 1934, there was an early Mickey and Minnie costume from the November of 1934 issue of the Oakland Tribune, and here's a picture of what it looked like. That is seriously so old. So some of those costumes might have been what Disney's parks had when they first opened. In 1937, the Mickey and Minnie costumes from the premiere show of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs were seen in this photo, along with Donald Duck in the middle. Then in 1950, the costumes were unique to say the least. I mean, at least they were kind of improving. In 1958 and 1959, the costumes became horrifying. They look like those rip-off Mickey Mouse costumes you'd see people wear on Vegas Boulevard Street, where they're trying to get money for taking photos with random people on the Vegas Strip. It was looking bad. 1959 to 1961, still pretty bad. 1961 to 1962, those look like living bobbleheads. 1962 to 1978 was looking a little bit better. 1978 to 1993, finally, more of the classic Disney mascot look was finally approaching and the costumes were not as scary. 1987 to 2019, 2019 was what I remember growing up with. I remember having a photo of myself with Minnie Mouse that looked just like that. So those are the ones I was familiar with when I was little going to Disneyland. And finally, in 2006 through now, the costumes were at their best and there was tons of different characters made and the costumes were finally looking smooth, pretty, and up to date. So costume history was really interesting and seeing how they've evolved over time is very fascinating. So the next scary urban legend about Disney is the rumor about people taking their dead loved ones' ashes and scattering them into Disneyland parks and rides. So I know a lot of people love Disney, but imagine loving Disney enough to say, when I die, I want you to scatter my ashes into the Pirates of the Caribbean. Honestly, that's a little bit creepy. I don't think that Disney workers or anyone would really want to be riding the ride Pirates of the Caribbean and get a water splash in their face that happens to be some dead person's ashes, which is really scary. But this actually happens more than people know about. Apparently, Disneyland workers report all the time that they see people sneak their loved ones' ashes onto their favorite rides and pour their ashes into the water of Pirates of the Caribbean, the Jungle Cruise, It's a Small World, and even other spots of the Disneyland park. It's actually against the Disneyland official rules to even do this, so if you did get caught doing this, you would get in huge trouble. Also, a lot of park employees are the ones that have to clean up these ashes that are spread, which is obviously not fun for any of the employees who are put to the task of having to clean up dead people's ashes. Really creepy that people do that, but that is really concerning, so don't do that, guys. That is bad. Another rumor about Disneyland is that the Haunted Mansion is actually haunted. Rumor has it there has been a lot of sightings after hours of employees cleaning up the park who have seen figures actually walk in front of the Haunted Mansion. Apparently, some frequent riders who ride the Haunted Mansion also have claimed that they have seen figures in the Haunted Mansion that were not a part of the ride. But after hours is the most common viewing time of a ghost that haunts the Disneyland park in front of the Haunted Mansion. There has actually been video footage caught of this ghost walking in front of the Haunted Mansion on the security cameras after the park closed. Really creepy because who knows, maybe the Haunted Mansion is actually haunted. Really interesting urban legend. The final and last legends we're going to finish today's video with are the rumors about Disneyland deaths. Sadly, we all know that theme parks can be dangerous. Apparently, there has been a few deaths that have taken place in the Disneyland park. There was one woman who actually apparently died after riding Space Mountain. Space Mountain is a roller coaster that goes through the dark and through the galaxies. During this experience, a 31-year-old woman who rode on Space Mountain in 1979 had a true nightmare. At the end of the ride, she was feeling so ill that she was unable to get up out of her seat. While the ride operators were trying to get her help, other employees were not notified, so they accidentally sent her back onto the ride again. The second ride put her into a coma, and she passed away within a week. Even though Disney ended up in a lawsuit, it was dismissed when the woman's death was determined to be the result of a tumor traveling to her brain after dislodging from her heart. That is really sad. So yeah, it's always important to check up on your health, and rides cannot be the best for your health. Obviously, if you guys ride something and you're not feeling good, probably not a good idea because there are roller coaster accidents and some of these rides can go pretty high speeds and make you feel very ill if you had a health condition. Another scary Disney conspiracy and death is a rumor about a cast member who was struck and killed during a Disney parade. So we all know that Disneyland parade floats are pretty big and some of them have fires, some of them have people doing stunts and flips and dances, swinging around like Tinkerbell waving a wand, and so much more. So a cast member who was dressed up as Pluto was about to enter Frontierland in the parade. The foot of his costume got stuck under the Beauty and the Beast float, but the float could not be stopped fast enough. Sadly, this guy was struck and killed before entering the public viewing area. That is so sad. It's already hard enough to like see out of those mascot costumes, so being in a parade and tripping or getting your foot stuck and then having a float smash you is absolutely terrifying and super sad. And another really scary one is about two deaths that were caused by the Matterhorn bobsled. So the Matterhorn bobsleds is this big roller coaster in Disneyland. I always liked this ride when I was little until I got really tall. Now I am 5'9", and whenever I ride this ride, I somehow seem to hurt my knee or something. I just have really long legs and nowhere to put them. This ride has like barely any space for long-legged people. Anyways, moving along. So the Matterhorn bobsleds became the location of two unfortunate situations, one of which was the first to happen in Disneyland's history. In 1964, a rider unfastened the buckle of their cart on this ride. They were only 15 years old. The kid stood up during the ride and fell out of the cart, becoming badly injured and passing away within a few days. 20 years later, Dolly Young rode Matterhorn bobsleds and became the second rider to be killed. Her seatbelt was not fastened, causing her to be thrown from the car and struck by the next vehicle behind her. Given the fact that she was alone on the ride, whether it was an accident or she unbuckled herself on purpose remains a mystery. That is really sad and scary. I definitely have a little bit of fear of roller coasters now because one time when I was younger, I was in a ride in the Mall of America called the Pepsi Coaster, and there was no seatbelt, but there was like a pool bar thing. And then my pool bar came up on the ride and it had some pretty steep turns and I almost fell out and I could have died. And ever since then, I've been kind of scared. One time I went on one of the most top 10 scariest rides in the world. Don't even ask me why I did that. But thrill rides can definitely be dangerous. I've been stuck on a matter of rides, so pretty sad, and those things do happen. Walt Disney himself actually still haunts his old apartment. For those of you guys who did not know, Walt Disney actually did live in his own theme park for quite a while. He had his own apartment located in the Disney park where he lived his life all the way up until he died. Sadly, Walt Disney passed away and his apartment still remains there today. I couldn't imagine what it would be like to actually live inside of the Disney park, so Walt literally really did live the dream. He literally got to wake up every single day inside of a Disneyland park in his own little secret apartment, which I think is so cool. I'm going to put some photos up here on the screen of what his apartment or room space look like inside, but I know that today there are still rumors that Walt still lives inside of his apartment and his spirit has not left. According to the legend, one night an employee came into dust and turned the lights off when she left. The light repeatedly turned on and off inside of Walt's apartment as she attempted to leave. Other employees that have cleaned Walt's apartment have also claimed to have heard footsteps and felt cold spots in his room. And other employees from the outside who cleaned outside of his apartment have claimed they've seen him through the window at night or even seen him waving when no one was there inside the apartment. So there is rumors that his ghost still lurks the ground. Also, some versions of the story from the employees claim that they heard a voice say, "Don't forget, I am still here." So that's pretty crazy if Walt still haunts his own apartment or there's a ghost there pretending to be Walt. Either way, pretty creepy stuff and pretty crazy. However, there's a lot more ghost stories that evolve around the park. I found a lot of them online that I had no idea about. And the next one revolves around one of my favorite rides, and this ride is Space Mountain. Space Mountain is one of the best Disney rides ever, but I never knew that there was a legend of it being haunted. So if you guys didn't know, Space Mountain is a roller coaster. It goes up to some pretty decent speeds through a dark space-themed mountain, and they have some pretty exciting music as it plays and goes around. It's pretty much just a pitch black roller coaster with a few stars and exciting music. However, there is a ghost that some riders of Space Mountain have claimed to have seen that they say they've seen sit right beside them on Space Mountain. This ghost is said to sometimes sit next to the rider in the seat next to them. And what's weirder than that, all the riders kind of describe the ghost to look exactly the same. And some of the people that rode this ride didn't even know about the legend of the ghost haunting it. They all describe him as a guy with reddish hair that they see appear next to him on the Space Mountain ride when they ride all alone. He's actually supposedly supposed to be the ghost of a deceased guest who died on the ride back in the 70s. And he also, legend has it, politely disappears before the end of the ride. The next story is about a lady in white that many guests have seen walking amongst Disney's Main Street. So, as you guys know, Disneyland was not always Disneyland. They actually had to buy out that property many years ago, and I believe before it was fully bought out, a lot of it was farmland. It had a lot of history that dates way, way back. So, there's a legend that a lady actually died on her farmland before Disney bought out the property, built their park, and the lady was always wearing a white gown, and guests still say they see her walking amongst Main Street today as well. Security footage of a ghost that was caught in the Disneyland park outside of the Haunted Mansion, and I remember seeing this footage as a kid and being super creeped out. This is actually real security footage. I'll put it here on the screen. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys think this potentially a real Disney ghost? Did they actually catch a ghost on camera? Let me know what you guys think. I don't know. It's very possible. It's kind of creepy and almost unexplainable. Many have dismissed it as a monitor burn or reflection, but many others believe it's a real ghost. Possibly Javier Cruz. If you guys haven't heard of it, it's a pretty sad story, but there was once a cast member who played as Pluto, and he was unfortunately brutally killed in 2004. This sadly took place during one of the Disneyland parades where he was playing as Pluto up top a float, dancing around, having a good time, until he accidentally tripped off the top of the float, crashed to the ground, and the float ran him over, and they could not stop the float in time, and he sadly passed away. It was really, really brutal for all the families, and of course Javier himself to die in such a sad way in front of whole crowds of people at the happiest place on earth. But there are legends and rumors that his spirit still walks around the park, and some people claim that that was him on the security footage. Even weirder than all that, there was rumors of a Disneyland park that Disneyland wanted to hide from their guests for a very long time, and this story is quite creepy. It is based off a creepypasta, I just want to put that out there, but either way, super scary. So this hidden Disney park was actually called the Duck Pond, and it's pretty coincidental that the idea of this park was that it was hidden underground of an actual Disney pond in the park because they're supposed to be so unique and magical and feel really real to the children who go down a secret entrance beneath the water to get to the secret hidden Disney park. However, there was a catch. Of course, it was called the Duck Pond. So who do you think of when you think of Disney and ducks? Well, obviously Donald Duck and Daisy Duck. So this whole park was pretty much themed around Donald and Daisy Duck because it was duck themed. So with that being said, they had Donald and Daisy Duck characters all throughout this entire park. All of the rides, the snacks, the merchandise, everything about this hidden Disney park was Donald and Daisy Duck themed because they hadn't really given much of a spotlight to those characters before. However, there's a really dark twist to this story. They eventually had to shut this hidden Disney park down, according to the legend, just because they said some kids had gone missing in this park and they couldn't quite figure it out. But some had claimed that one of the Donald Duck employees was taking children and hiding them, and people never found their kids again. And the worst part about it was that because it was all duck themed, there was multiple cast members playing different Donald Ducks throughout the main park, the hidden duck park, and throughout the rest of the parks at Disney, so they didn't know which employee might have been stealing the children. This got so out of hand that Disney decided to shut down this hidden duck park and never open it again. Wow, what a creepypasta urban legend, guys. That is crazy. It's kind of creepy though. It kind of gives me FNAF vibes of some sort. And honestly, you never know who's behind a mascot costume, guys. You just never know. Another really creepy legend is about the ride called Small World. It's a small world. I'm sure you all know about it. It was always one of my favorite and least favorite rides at the same time, just because it's quite annoying. If you guys have been on it, you know what I mean. But you also like to cool off in there, and it's a long ride, and usually there's no wait, so why not go on a classic, right? Well, there's a lot of legends about this ride going wrong, and I mean so wrong, in the middle of the night when employees clean it up and shut it down. So as you guys know, Small World is filled with dolls, like dolls everywhere. So many employees that have worked the night shift on this ride, where they clean it up and, you know, fix it up for the next day and shut it down, say that they have seen dolls move positions all by themselves when shut down, and that some of the dolls turn their head, blink, or even talk when they're completely powered off. I could not imagine having to be the last person to shut down animatronics at night, especially in rides or even at Chuck E. Cheese. That would make me so paranoid, having to turn the lights off, stare at all the dolls in the dark, and shut the ride completely down. Oh my gosh, I would run out of there. I would be so scared. Just because imagine sleeping there overnight with all the dolls staring at you. No thank you, I'm good. Just because dolls can be kind of creepy. I've never been a big fan of them personally, but you do you, boo boo. And last but not least, there's a strange theory / conspiracy going around online about Disney's Club 33. So if you guys didn't know what Club 33 is, it's basically a hidden club that Disney has had for a very long time, and it's almost nearly impossible to get an invite or onto the list to get inside. I have always wanted to go in there, but it's gonna be a trip ever getting invited into Club 33 because they have a set list of members that can go, and getting accepted on that list is nearly impossible. There is, however, a lot of conspiracies that Club 33 is somehow linked to the Illuminati. Like I said, conspiracy. Don't know if this is real or not, but it would be kind of strange. Some people think that Club 33 might be run by the Illuminati in an attempt to establish a new world order. Some people also claim that they might have secret meetings inside of Club 33 where they only allow certain people to get access to it because it's so hard to get into and nobody really can get in there. It's very unheard of to actually get access to the secret room in the secret hidden Disney club, that they think there might be something sketchy about it. Oddly creepy design of Disney World. Alright, I want to see what's creepy about the design of it because when I went, it looked beautiful, okay?
Everyone who visits Disney World will tell you that they could feel the magic in the air, and that it may have been the happiest place on Earth.
It is so magical.
But how exactly did Disney construct a park that feels magical? While it may not be as sinister or as dark as most of my videos, I would like to take a look at how Disney has turned their guests into rats in a maze, and how they have designed their parks to psychologically trick their guests into going wherever they want.
Okay, I do want to say, there is a lot of things that I've heard about where Disney puts scent things that spray cookie scents in the air to make you want to buy food, and certain ways to make the buildings look bigger than they actually are, and tons and tons and tons of Mickey's face. Literally, if you go into Disneyland, that's all you see is hidden Mickey Mouse, Mickey popsicles, Mickey ice cream, Mickey pretzels. There's some strange stuff about it, I will say that.
feeling whatever they want them to feel, and doing exactly what the big mouse wants them to do.
The big
Some
cheese
of the subtle
himself.
psychological tricks they used include pumping artificial smells through
I
private
knew
areas
it,
that
I
were
knew it.
developed to make guests calm and happy, designing all of their pathways to be dark to draw in the Florida sun, pushing guests inside of shops and restaurants.
I didn't think about
Disney
that.
also conducted tests to find the most off-putting colors and used them to keep guests away from restricted areas by
Really?
painting them with what they call go-away green. Finally, they built the
Go
park
away
with the
green. Is that why they want us to stay away from the Club 33? They're like, yeah, let's just paint it a color that's not as appealing to the eye, so they stay away from our secret, Illuminati lounge. Just kidding. It's totally not the Illuminati lounge. But I want to go to Club 33 and see what's inside.
strategic linear design that makes the parks feel like they never end, almost as if they never wanted their guests to leave.
That's actually weird to think about. Imagine, this was true, though. It does feel like the park never ends sometimes. When you start walking through Disney, you don't want to stop. You just want to keep going around, and sometimes you get lost because the park is so big. The disturbing trend Disney doesn't want you to know. What else are they hiding? I want to know.
Turns out the Haunted Mansion may just be haunted after all.
Really?
Employees say this is a favorite spot for guests to secretly spread the ashes of their loved ones.
That's true. Okay, this is really creepy, but I have heard that a lot of people try to sneak in their loved ones' ashes to spread in certain Disney rides and amongst the park. However, I also heard that they do train the Disney employees, the warning signals of somebody sneaking in ashes, and that if you do that, you can get banned from Disney for life and get a huge penalty. So don't do that, guys. That's weird in the first place, kind of gross and creepy, but let's see what's going on with the Haunted Mansion.
Disney describes their parks as a place of wonder, magic, and happiness. What they won't tell you is that it's also a place full of human remains.
Yikes.
Most of us have heard of the real skeletons used in the Pirates of the Caribbean ride,
Yep.
but very few know of the disturbing trend Disney has worked to keep quiet. Disney has caught dozens of families trying to scatter the ashes of their deceased relatives all over the park. The most
That's
popular
weird.
location for dumping ashes is the Haunted Mansion ride. One Disney custodian was interviewed by the Wall Street Journal and said, "The Haunted Mansion probably has so much human ash in it that it's not even funny. So next time you visit Disney,
That's
try not to think about all
scary.
the dust you breathe in, and follow for more of the creepy side of TikTok."
Okay, that's weird. Is there something else they're gonna add on to this?
Sure that it was my crazy sister that said, well, I think we just go to Disney.
That's daughter Dale with her dad Ken holding some of her mother's remains in a pill bottle.
No! That is so... No! It's so creepy. Imagine you're riding a ride or something and, you inhale someone's ashes. Oh, no!
Disney doesn't want you to know? Part 7. Today, let's talk about the abandoned Disney theme park, River Country.
I've heard of
River Country
this!
Park opened in 1976, and it was the first water park at Disney World.
Really?
And surprise, surprise, a lot of tragedy occurred at this park, which ultimately led to it being shut down. First off, an 11-year-old boy died after getting a bacterial infection from swimming in one of the pools. The bacteria
so
attacked
sad.
his brain and nervous system, which killed him. 2 years later, another tragedy occurred. This time, a 14-year-old boy died after coming off of one of the water slides, and the lifeguards didn't see him. And Disney didn't learn from this because in 1989, another boy drowned.
Okay, but water parks are very dangerous in the first place, and you can get bacterial infections in the ocean and public pools, really anywhere with contaminated water. That can happen anywhere. One time I was swimming in the ocean somewhere in Florida, and I got some weird infection from the water out there, and I almost died, so that was kind of scary. But water park and water and, water slides can always go wrong, sadly.
Witness told the newspaper that the lifeguards were performing CPR incorrectly on him. The park closed its doors
That's
in
the
November of
lifeguards'
2001,
fault.
and now it's just abandoned.
That's crazy they had to close the whole park down. I didn't even know that was the first one made.
I'm at Disneyland for the week, so I thought I'd give you guys paranormal Disneyland stories. This is part 1.
It's common knowledge that Walt Disney had an apartment over the fire station on Main Street.
I know
There is
about
a light in
this.
the window that is always left on as a tribute to Walt, who died in 1966.
That's true. I've seen this
But before
light.
the tradition of leaving the light on began, a cast member was in charge of turning the light on and off.
Really?
One evening, a cast member turned off the light and left the room. When she returned, she found the light turned on again. According to the story, she heard a voice that said, "I am still here."
That's
the light is now always turned
creepy.
on.
Okay, I just want to say, imagine being that cast member who had to go in there every day and turn the light on and off, and then you hear that. Oh my goodness. I bet after that she's like, I ain't turn the light on and off no more. I think I'm just gonna leave it on all the time and just never go back inside of there, which I bet is what happens.
Disturbing facts about Disney, which may or may not ruin your childhood.
Don't ruin my childhood, please.
If you've ever been to Disney, you may have been on this ride, Mr. Toad.
Mr. Toad, I've been on that ride. It's kind of
Disturbing
weird.
Story behind this ride.
Really?
The ride appears to be one of the most kid-friendly in the entire park. You go on the little cart.
I wouldn't say
it's
kid-friendly.
However, halfway through the ride, things change when they make it look like you're having a head-on collision.
That's right, it's weird.
It quickly shifts from a pretty nice ride to a scary one.
Literally, literally, I was just talking about this ride the other day with my sister, and I was like, you know what? That ride is kind of weird. She's like, I know. It like brings you through Hell's Pit, and I was like, it does? And she's like, yeah. And then we Googled it, and I was like, it literally does bring you through Hell's Pit. Like, you go through Mr. Toad, and it starts off all good, and then you die, and it brings you to hell, and there's like a devil in there, and it's really weird that they have this in a Disney park. Honestly, I think they need to take it down.
You probably wouldn't notice any difference. It's just a bit noisier and darker. The true reason behind this will terrify you. The head-on collision with the train represents that you are dying.
Yep.
And you then get transported to hell.
Literally!
Demons and lots of screams and loud noises.
It's
it shows
so
that things aren't
scary.
always what they seem. And Disneyland isn't solely a kid-friendly place.
I always wondered, why do they have like a hell scene in a Disney park? Like, honestly, Disney, that is the most suspicious thing in the world, and it makes me creeped out. And since then, I haven't really been on that ride. I'm just saying.
Did you know about the abandoned Disney park that nobody's allowed to go to?
I want to go.
River Country, and it was one of the first water parks that Disney has ever had.
It's the other one
they
we just
opened in
talked
1976, but had to shut their doors for good in 2001 when something terrifying happened. 2 kids died swimming there because of a brain-eating amobia. But some people think that it was more than just 2 kids.
Really?
When the photographer went to the abandoned parks to take these shots, they noticed something. A hat that looked like it was in good condition just sitting on the bridge.
That is so weird. So like somebody actually snuck in there and got photos? Like, what? So I'm pretty sure most of you guys know the movie Toy Story, right? Well, in the classic Toy Story movies, all the toys have a secret keyword that when they hear this, the toys all fall to the floor and pretend to be lifeless. They all scream, Andy's coming, Andy's coming, and all the toys would drop to the floor and pretend that they are dead or that they weren't just walking around. Well, basically there was a rumor that the mascot characters in Disneyland and Disney World at one point did have to act like they did in the movie, and when any kid or guest at Disneyland or Disney World would scream, Andy's coming, Andy's coming, the Toy Story mascot actors would actually have to fall to the ground and pretend to be dead, or pretend to be lifeless for a few seconds to combat with their character from the movies. Guests actually have reported seeing their favorite Toy Story characters drop at their command at a number of the Disney parks. So apparently Disney actually spoke out about this rumor as well, and they said the characters used to drop to the ground when someone yelled, Andy's coming. As of the last week or so, however, they no longer do this. This is because everybody found out about it at the same time when the meme went viral, and now people are shouting this about 50 times per hour and a half as opposed to hearing it once or twice a day like before. So yeah, basically people started to say this little phrase way too much after they found the meme about it online, and it started becoming a safety hazard because little kids would get up behind these characters, someone would scream, Andy's coming! And then the character would just plop and almost hit the child, and it started to get a little out of hand since, you know, Toy Story characters and the workers were constantly falling to entertain the guests as a silly meme. Anyways, pretty interesting conspiracy. Is it true? I don't know, but kind of funny. So the next Disney urban legend is actually about Disney's secret room. There are numerous reports of strange, unique hidden spaces at Disneyland. These rumors can sometimes be true according to the internet. There is a private club called 33 located in New Orleans Square. Membership to this club is expensive and coveted, with hopefuls waiting on a list for years at a time. When you're finally picked, there's an initiation fee of $25,000 and an annual fee of $11,000. That membership can be revoked. This year, a longtime Club 33 member filed a suit against Disney after they canceled his membership, allegedly for giving passes to a friend who auctioned them off for charity. That is pretty crazy. So I didn't even know that that existed until I heard about this urban legend online. So apparently there are little hidden rooms and spaces. Another legend is actually that there is a basketball court that was built inside the Matterhorn at the top of the mountain, sort of. Well, it's actually a very small court, not even half of a court, just large enough to barely do some free throws. However, nobody knows if this rumor is true or not because it doesn't really make sense. Why would they have to build a basketball court on the very tip top of the Matterhorn? Weird urban legend. Is it true? I don't know. I don't know if I believe that one. Also, there is rumor of another Disney suite or place where people can live. So there's apparently a secret suite at Disneyland. Disney actually intended for his family to live there, but he died before its completion. This gorgeous suite now sometimes is offered to a lucky family who wins a contest to spend a night in its finery. The suite is pretty luxurious, and like I said, it was built for Disney or Walt Disney, but he sadly passed away before they ever finished completing this Disneyland suite, so that's pretty sad. But I did hear rumors that he wanted to build his own little suite in Disneyland, so I'm guessing they do still have that there, even though it's a conspiracy. I'm pretty sure that one's real. So there is a rumor that the Haunted Mansion actually did scare somebody to death, and this one's pretty crazy because we all know from the last video that the Haunted Mansion really is haunted. The Haunted Mansion opened in 1969, but some say that the earlier version of the ride was so terrifying that a man invited to preview the attraction suffered a heart attack and actually died. Due to the unfortunate circumstance, Disney ordered the ride toned down to prevent anyone else from being scared to death. What? That's crazy. So I'm not sure actually what the original Haunted Mansion looked like. I'm going to look up some pictures and try to put them here on the screen to see if it did get revised over time. I'm pretty sure that it would stay pretty similar to the way that it is now. I know they do only change it to the Nightmare Before Christmas for a seasonal occasion, which I actually prefer over the original. The original's fun, but the Nightmare Before Christmas is so much cuter and so much more better in my opinion. But that's pretty interesting to hear that somebody got so scared of the original Haunted Mansion that they had to like tone it down, even though it's conspiracy. If that's true, that'd be kind of crazy. So the next conspiracy is abandoned Disney properties or areas in Disneyland that were occupied or in Disney World but now are abandoned. Many people believe there are a number of abandoned Disney properties holding spooky secrets. This is actually sort of true according to the internet. Discovery Island, originally called Treasure Island, was a Disney-owned island in Bay Lake from 1974 to 1999. Most people believe that the park shut down due to Florida laws regarding bacteria in the water, but other people have littered comment pages about the island with tons of different spooky theories. Basically that the government bought the island from Disney to use as a death camp, which is crazy. I don't know if I believe that one. While no one's sure what's going to become of the properties, Disney did at one point consider turning the park into an interactive game inspired by the video game Myst, but that project never got off ground. Disney also had a nearby water park called River Country, which too has randomly shut down. There was somebody who actually broke into an abandoned Disney island by actually swimming over to the island. That's crazy. He and his friends at the time took several photos of the ground revealing an eerie scene by baby vultures and preserved snakes they found in jars on this abandoned Disney island. Disney was not cool with their adventure and threatened to ban him and his friends from the park for their entire lives. Many people, however, believe that there are two abandoned resorts, a treasure island in the Bahamas and a park called Mo Gillies Palace in North Carolina. Mo Gillies Palace is actually from a creepypasta called Abandoned by Disney. If you guys don't know what creepypastas are, well, you know, they're just scary stories mostly made to entertain people. But some people think they're real. There are a lot of rumors of creepypastas actually being real. The Abandoned by Disney story revolves around an urban explorer who decides to investigate an abandoned Disney resort in his hometown in North Carolina. There he finds a snake in a bunch of abandoned buildings, some of which scrawled with the phrase Abandoned by Disney. He eventually locates Mascot's area where he pulls off the head of a Donald Duck and a human skull falls out. Then a Mickey costume in inverse color starts walking towards him. He then flees away, and to this day people still try to search for it and find it, since there's a lot of scary, spooky stories online about this Disney conspiracy. Another conspiracy about Disney is Disney cats and different animals in the park. I actually believe the Disney cats conspiracy because, well, I've seen Disney cats before. Basically, Disneyland actually is known to have a lot of rats and mice and creepy crawlies everywhere in the park, but they don't want us to know that. So they actually have a bunch of cats that they leave on the Disneyland property, and they let them run around wherever they want to hunt down the mice and keep the pests a little bit more controlled because there's a lot of creepy crawlies and we don't want those in the park. So there is a lot of different cats throughout the Disneyland resorts and the Disney World resorts that they just keep and feed and let them try to, you know, get the mice and the rats. I've seen one before in Disneyland California Adventure in the foresty areas, and it makes me wonder how many Disney cats there really are walking around the park, casually living life at Disneyland, which is kind of a life for a cat, honestly. If I was a cat or a dog, I would want to live at Disneyland. Another really scary thing I've heard about Disney is that they can control our mind through scents and sounds, which is crazy. I actually kind of believe this one, even though it's a conspiracy. Some conspiracy theories accuse Disneyland of controlling your mind through your nose. Well, it's sort of true. true because Disneyland does smell really great, especially certain rides. Pirates of the Caribbean, I love the smell of that ride. It makes me want to go back and have a candle of it in my room and just inhale it, okay? It smells good. So there are actually smellitizers all throughout the Disneyland park that actually release different smells throughout the park. The smells are meant to correlate with what you're experiencing. For example, you'll smell cookies on Main Street, candy and vanilla scents as you walk by certain stores in efforts to get the park to actually make you go buy some candy, some chocolate, some cookies because you smell those scents that they actually linger in front of the stores on purpose to get you to buy or eat certain things. Kind of like that conspiracy about grocery stores where they actually let you go by the bakery first because you can smell the breads and you know, you smell them, you want to buy them, and then that's why they keep like the milk in the very back of the store because no one can smell milk or nobody wants to smell milk. It's kind of like a mind game to get you to smell something, it smells good, then you buy it. So there are a bunch of these little hidden like scent things all throughout Disneyland that do release scent of certain parts of the park to make you smell things and want to eat certain things in effort to gain money. Anyways guys, that's going to do it for today's Disney conspiracies that you guys might not have known. If you guys know any other scary or interesting Disney conspiracies, let me know in the comments down below. It's been Lyssy. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Be sure to check out my Instagram at Lyssy Noel and all my other socials there are linked in the description below. Thank you guys all so much for watching. I hope you guys have a great day and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys!